Hello again. This time I'm going to be making an Arkansas Gowrow. You might have seen me sketch this little guy out real quick, trying to figure out what I'm going to do for a sculpture for it. So I'm going to go with something similar to this, but it's probably going to change like all sculptures do as it progresses. However, after sketching it, I realized, hey, look at that. That's pretty insanely close to what I actually drew. So I might just be using some of these cheap Halloween decoration for, putting in your pumpkin, things that I just happen to have sitting around the house. And we'll see what we can do with it. And that's just going to fall back down. All right. Get some clay out of the hot plate over here. It's nice and soft because I've been letting it warm up in advance. I'm going to work it around a little bit to homogenize it, make it all nice and more or less the same temperature as well as smoothness. But I'm not going to make this terribly large. So I'm thinking a body about yay big. These tusks may be proportionally larger than I drew here, but that could only be more entertaining, right? And toss that down here for a second. I think I have a little bit of resin in that one. Won't make much difference unless that's where I'm putting some detail. And I'll just have to dig it out and resculpt. No big deal. I love this stuff. This is dragon clay. Dragon clay? No, monster clay. It is what a whole lot of special effects folks use for making sculpts that they need to make molds of, because it doesn't have any sulfur or any of the other kinds of chemicals that silicone molds don't like to have near them. Silicone won't set up with sulfur and several other. That's my text messaging going off. Student probably needing some help. I'll get to him in a little bit. Don't worry, I'm not ignoring them on the clock. I just let them text me anytime, so. So that's probably somebody just wanting to talk about art for a little bit. And that's awesome. So I'll do that with them here in a little while. Normally I'd answer right away, but I'm kind of in a thing here. Wrapped it the other way. Guess I could do this. I'm debating. Sorry, I just kind of stopped doing anything for a second there. I'm debating whether or not I should have this wrapped back around toward the front and have the neck weirdly, awkwardly bent up around like that. But I think I will. It's going to be really awkward, and don't think too hard about the, the pose if you look at it, because it'll be like, wait a minute, how in the world can that thing possibly get that sharp of a curve to its neck? That's not normally how necks work, but that's okay. We'll see if we can make it more believable in the sculpture. And I'm not sure if you've ever watched any of the other sculpting videos for these miniature monsters that I've been doing, but I talk a whole lot about the necessities of molds when I do it, mainly because I have to keep thinking about it. Otherwise, I'll start doing something really dumb that won't work. That happens. Like I'll be sculpting along and you're like, oh yeah, this is going to be great. Oh yeah, I need to do this, that, because that'd be really cool. That'd be really great. I should do this. Oh crap, no wait, that won't work. I can't do that. Typically it's an undercut or something like that. Usually something that'll have a void all the way through it or something. Like, oh wait, I don't really want to make a multiple piece mold just so I can get that to work. Sometimes you can avoid it by just slicing it through, but sometimes that messes up the mold or doesn't let the mold realign very well. So I try to avoid that whenever possible, especially if it's something small. If it's a large one and you have a pretty good sized kind of void or something like that and relatively thick stuff around it for support as far as the mold goes, it'll let it realign fairly well. But it's not so good if you have relatively thin stuff around it. It doesn't tend to go together very well. That's why you have a really good mother mold to hold it a little better. Or plan ahead and put a thin sheet of metal or something in there in the middle of that so that the rubber will pour to both sides but not go all the way through. And it's so thin, hopefully, that it'll not really affect the mold in the long run by being, some sort of a thick thing messing up your the shape, squeezing things together when you don't have that in there after all. Okay, I need to make that go around a little bit to go that way. More to this side. And again, I'm thinking about making a shrink mold for this one too. So I'll end up putting some nice details on here, but not go nuts so it won't just be messed up on small size. A little bit of shrinking detail is really nice because you can get some detail that you couldn't get on the small size normally. It's really nice. But you got to be really careful not to make it too much texture, too much friction on demolding, because the shrink mold might be a little bit more delicate than your regular rubber mold would be. So you have to be gentle with it. And too much friction has the possibility of tearing. And nobody wants that. Okay, there's the basic gist. Looks like a fat-bellied, just broken neck almost, kind of crazy snake or something. Give it a little bit more beef out here so it kind of has a better turn to its body. It's still so it's still so warm. Everything's going squish instead of letting me just add clay to it. I need to let it cool down a little bit. I may have to come back to this. do some other areas and come back to this little thing here. Okay, let's go ahead and stuff a tooth in a head. So soft, it was squishing with that too. Look at that, that's so close to what I sculpted. Then I made this guy even bigger than I meant to, so they're actually kind of small compared to what I sculpted, or drew. But that's okay, I think they're going to be okay. I'm trying to figure out if I want to sculpt it so that these will be cast with it or separately. Yeah, that was great. GoPros are wonderful. They just shut off randomly for no good reason. I love it. Not a good video camera in a lot of ways. This is a GoPro 8. They're supposed to be a hell of a lot better about that. It's not even overheated. Battery sure as heck wasn't. It was still 84% full. And I have plenty of memory stick left. Micro SD, I mean. So that's not it. I don't know what the deal is. Camera just decides it doesn't want to. I hate this harsh lighting on this that I have to do for you, but it's so hard to see what I'm doing at all. If I turned off this light, you couldn't see a thing. But I gotta remember to get a little bit closer so you can see something at all. Give him a little bit of a lump above that, kind of where it attaches to him. A little bit like the bumps in your gum where the root of your tooth goes. If I'm not careful, it'll be like smile muscle kind of feel. I don't really want him to look like he's smiling at you. He's supposed to be mean. He'll be cute because he's tiny maybe, but I don't want him any more cute and lovable than I have to. Shortened up his nose quite a bit there. Let's see if I can squeeze it down and rework that. Give him a longer head here. Weather changing is messing with my voice. I can hardly talk. Some of you are probably thinking, that would be awesome. You could stop now. So I did, apparently. Okay. Let's see if we can figure out what to do for eyes. My TV just turned off, so, or my stereo, I mean. So my computer, who was hooked up to it, said, oh no, things are unhooking. I don't want to go too crazy deep in there. See the above conversations about mold making being bad with too much detail and too deep of stuff. Alright, that'll feel a little bit more like it can fold, and I'll come back and add a little more in here in just a minute. But it's still squishy. Speaking of, take advantage of that and make it kind of flat on the bottom. Actually, I was going to bring that up a little, so I'll do that. And then squeeze this down and around here. Give him a little flat chub going. Okay, that was loud and obnoxious. Let's just do this. No idea why I did that, but okay. I didn't have anything playing, so why did it go crazy on me? Oh, whoops. Okay. It's not going to stay up there, but kind of squeezing it around, giving it more of a flat bottom here. Gosh darn you. Stay out of the way. And I think I'll use one of these for a tail spike and then re-sculpt it a little bit so that it's not a tooth. It's more of a crazy blade-like thing here. I'll add some clay on it. Change how that looks maybe. So far it looks like a toenail. Yeah. Okay. Give this a little bit of a recess around it. So it kind of folds in and over. Really don't like the fact that that's making scary noises. So I'm going to unhook my hot plate again. Yuck. Making it look like he's smiling again. I may just have to embrace it and make it a smiling lizard monster. Well, that's not what I wanted. Good thing clay can be resculpted. Just keep messing with it until I get what I want. It's a little closer. Clean that up in a little while. All right, need to give him a ridge down the back, going down under here to match my drawing, but he also needs some eyes. So still not sure how I want that to go back there. All right, so we have an eye that's pretty unlikely, but close to the tusk. Not really a thing that's likely to happen there. Probably add a little clay on the top here when I figure out the way I want it, so it gives a little bit of a brow, but for now I just want to shape the general gist. I'm using the round side here because it's stiffer, whereas the round or the blade-like side here will just flex, and it doesn't help me reshape this eye shape very well. I'll come in and smooth it out with that, but I don't know, kind of liking the texture that this is creating though. the sculpture I made before this, I didn't want to sculpt any details inside of the eye in order to allow it to be painted so that it's looking in any direction you feel like. But these, I'll probably go ahead and put a dot hole in it, maybe even some tiny details for like the color around the eye or something like that, just to give it some detail that it might need, because this is a relatively simple form. But also it's not, there's two eyes, and painting them in different angles might make it look like he's all wall-eyed and crazy. So I'm going to see if I can sculpt it so it doesn't look like that to begin with. But who knows, I may give up and just make it a blank one too, because I'm just not digging it, and I'm more interested in letting it be a flexible option. Who knows? We'll see. That one's a lot bigger than the other one was. I really like making lopsided or asymmetrical things. They're a lot more naturalistic in a lot of ways. You think everything, you want to imagine everything in the world to be perfectly symmetrical. All faces are the same on both sides, but they're not. And things actually look artificial if they're too symmetrical. We do tend to have standard of beauty of the more symmetrical a thing is, the more beautiful we think it is. And that since these are monsters, I don't really want them to be too quote unquote standard beautiful to begin with. But quite frankly, nobody's actually all that perfectly symmetrical anyway. So I really like kind of exaggerating it a little bit and having, one eye distinctly larger than the other or something, slightly higher, lower, or something like that. Not so much that it's really awkward or distracting unless I'm trying to make something that is supposed to be kind of goofy. And at that point, heck yeah, I'll go crazy changing it up and making it weird. That's a lot of fun then. Okay, I need a little clay on there just so I can give him some brows before I get too carried away. And my clay's cooling down, so it's not as easy to get out of there anymore. Whoop. Okay, go in the pencil tray. Look at that. This tool is so good. You can tell I've loved this thing for quite a while. It's all sorts of nasty, dirty, and got old epoxy all on it and things. And yep, I have used and abused this thing for quite a while. might be a little too much. Yeah, that's about right. See if I can shape it relatively close first before I start squeezing it on there. No, that's not how I wanted it. And yeah, it is a little bit too much. But that's okay. I'm as boring as Bob Ross to watch paint. I love Bob Ross though. It's amazing how many of my students, being mostly late teens still, still know about him. It's pretty remarkable that somebody that was on TV throughout my childhood and became popular for being easy to fall asleep to. But he was a really good painter. He really was. He only did the same kind of thing over and over and over again, but still, that doesn't mean he wasn't any good. It just blows my mind that he made, I think it was 3 of the paintings every single episode. Donated one of them every time. That's pretty amazing. Pretty sweet guy. There he goes. He's got getting a little bit more of an expression now. One eyebrow raised kind of thing. See if I can rearrange that a little bit though. I don't want it quite that dramatic. Maybe give him a little backward pointed. Yeah, I like that better. Another student needing help, I bet. We'll get to them in just a minute. Here it is, like 8 o'clock at night or something. My students are still working. I call that a win. Gosh darn. Cannot get those nostrils to work the way I want. Yeah. Oh, then I just totally mangled it. Okay, since my student is probably needing something while they're working, I'm going to stop and come back to this in just a little bit. Might be a different video. I might tack it to the end of this one. We'll see. Anyway, we're getting somewhere. Getting a creepy little tusk-faced lizardy thing. All right. I'll see you in the next video.